Hello and welcome to Mint's Budget Special. We have with us in the studio today two experts, Kaustav Sen and Prerna Mehdi-Ratta, both directors from BMR Advisors. Thank you for being on the show. Kaustav, if you can go first. This budget, no big flourishes. Do you agree?
Yes, I completely agree on that. The finance minister has kept himself on an even keel in that sense. The macro level policy objective that he had is to introduce GST in about a year or two. So all eyes on that in that sense.
So on indirect taxes, no big flourishes. Direct taxes?
I would agree with that actually, even from a direct tax standpoint. To my mind, if I can put it, I think it's a budget of small repairs with minor damages, if I can say that.
That's nice. That's lots of small things, but you say minor damages. I'll just come back to you because the markets are extremely spooked with what he has done on some parts of the direct taxes. But before that, Kaustav, this minor repair on the indirect tax side too, or like he could have gone to 14%, on the excise side, because that's going to be the GST rate. But it's an election year; he hasn't done that.
Absolutely.
Right?
And in comparison to, if you compare ourselves to the Western economies, when they were going through their financial crisis in that sense, they increased their VAT rates to have a very predictable revenue coming in every month. That's not happened. We are, especially because the 2G auctions which were supposed to happen really didn't happen as well. So hence he's played a balanced role once again, and thereby he's gone after the small tickets. Therefore also looking at conspicuous items of consumption which are not sensitive in that manner to the large populace.
Oh, so it's basically taxing the rich.
Absolutely, absolutely.
On the direct tax side too, he has specifically gone after the rich.
Oh yes, the levy of the surcharge on people in excess of earning income in excess of 1 crore is absolutely an attempt to tax the rich. That being so, I think from a direct tax standpoint, there has also been this approach and attempt to give welfare benefits to the poor, to the lower and the middle class, which is a new segment that they've targeted this year. Because this, increasing the deduction for housing loans for people who have, who fall in the bracket of lower to middle income group, increasing their tax deduction to by another 1 lakh, to my mind, is a big boost to the housing sector.
And if I read that move right, if I understood it right, it's for a 21 lakh loan, you are now interest free. And since you can't get 21 lakh housing in any of the big 4 metros, he's taken his tax brace outside of these big metros. I mean, making it in some ways equitable.
Right. So the amount is actually 40 lakhs of the house, and the loan has to be about 25 lakhs. So you're right, but if 25 lakhs of loan in a metro is actually a very small kind of a property that we're looking at.
So he's incentivizing consumption among an aspirational class. Yeah. Has he done the same thing on the indirect tax side too?
Actually, not really. What he's typically gone to do is he's gone to tax incrementally some aspects of conspicuous consumption. So like home loans for income tax has become cheaper, premium homes from a tax perspective has become more expensive. So for a house of 1 crore, you pay 50,000 rupees more of tax. If you're buying an SUV, if you're buying an imported SUV, God save you, you'll be paying about 15-20% more. And if you are lucky enough to import a yacht, you'll be paying that much of money once again. So from an overall picture, these items don't give the finance minister that much of revenue in that sense, but they will bring in some change.
Yeah, but politically,
yes,
he gets huge mileage.
Absolutely.
He may not have done too much of good as far as the new aspirational class, but he's seemingly going after the so-called super rich, he's gaining political brownie points, right? Yeah. So in terms of reforms on the direct and indirect, we know on indirect tax side the big thing is GST. So are there any fresh markers that make us believe that GST would come in faster than what we have been led to believe, or it's going to take its time?
Sure. So as we all know, the key issue for GST is how the states and the center are going to share their revenues. The states impose VAT, the center imposes excise and service tax and customs duties, and so they have to share the pie. The apprehension with a number of states is that when they lose their power to tax, they lose their power over the money, and they're not sure what kind of revenues will come in. Hence, the finance minister here has taken the first step. He said, I will share 9,000 crores of revenue at the day go. This gives it's a large confidence building measure as such, and will put in some steps for the constitutional amendment bill, which is the structural or the framework step for any next steps on GST to start.
Similarly, Prerna, on the reform side, DTC, we have heard some noises about the DTC.
Yeah.
So, can we be similarly hopeful?
Yeah, I think the good thing about DTC, which the finance minister said in the speech today, was that he doesn't want DTC to be viewed as the income tax law in a new shape and form. He wants it to be, bringing in international best practices. So hopefully, the starting statement of the finance minister was that he wants to bring in certainty for the foreign investors. So what I am hoping is that DTC is actually going to be an attempt to address that part of it. Though to my mind, the bill has not actually really proposed changes which will bring in certainty, but hopefully the DTC will do that.
But you just mentioned foreign investor, and I think we'll wrap up this discussion on that. That's the biggest thing that has spooked the markets. The markets tanked immediately after the fine print leaked out on certain provisions of that. What was that?
To my mind, what has really caught the investor community unawares is the recharacterization of buybacks as dividends. So as just as I said, his starting speech was certainty, but this sudden change, to my mind, is absolutely not going to bring in certainty, because investments have been put in place, structures have been put in place, and to call and to view every buyback arrangement as a tax avoidance is not fair. Because anyway, there is an attempt to bring in GAR in the next 2 years, and if something was tax avoidance, GAR would have anyway covered it. So really speaking, to have this recharacterization is not going to bring in certainty. To bring in a higher rate of 25% tax on royalties and FTS arrangements, the fee for technical services arrangements, it's a sudden change, and it applies to all existing agreements as on date. So it is not even for new agreements that this rate of the higher rate would apply. It applies to all agreements. So this again does not really walk the talk in terms of certainty. There are some welcome moves, and which relates to foreign dividends, the cascading effect of that getting reduced. That's a welcome move. The announcement was made on GAR that it will get deferred by 2 years, but the fact that they have actually introduced it in the bill is a welcome move.
So we'll have to wait and see if the FM will do some kind of rethink. Yes. Before I let both of you go, you first, your final thoughts on the tax side on indirect taxes.
See, I think the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. GST is a structural reform. It will bring India close to what is called a unified market. If the FM can reach there in about a year from now, all kudos to him.
And you, Prerna?
I think given the election year, it is a populist budget in one sense, but the investor community will not be very happy.
Okay, great way to close. I mean, proof lies in the eating, as it were, and you say it's a populist budget, but we'll have to wait and see whether the budget really pans out in the form that we have seen it.
Yes.
Till then, thank you for being on the show. Thank you, and
Thank
keep
you.
watching Mint.